Jesus said, "I am the light of the world. Whoever follows me will never walk in darkness, but will have the light of life." Which, when you think about it, is kind of a weird thing to say about yourself, but in fact, Jesus quite often said stuff like this. I am the light of the world, I am the good shepherd, I am the vine, I am the bread, all of which might seem like really bizarre ways to describe yourself. But here's the thing, when Jesus was describing who he was and what he came here to do, he was describing something so new, so one of a kind, so revolutionary, that quite often the best he could come to describing himself in a way that we could understand was to say, well, it's kind of like this. And so Jesus said, I am the light of the world. You want to know what I'm here for? What I came here to do? Well, I'm kind of like a light. Okay? How? How is Jesus like a light? Well, there's a bunch of stuff I could say here, but here's three things. Jesus is like a light because Jesus brings truth, because Jesus brings life, and because Jesus brings joy. Okay, so first, light brings truth. Have you ever been in a situation where you are staying over at a friend's house and you wake up in the middle of the night and you realize you need to go to the toilet, but the lights are all off and you have no idea where you're going? And so you stand up and you kind of stumble out of bed and you run into the furniture for a bit and you fumble around trying to find the light switch or the door handle and you can't do it. And then you realize that you're like doubly lost because not only can you not find your way out to the bathroom, you can't find your way back to the bed either. And so you just walk around the room in the dark, stubbing your toe on stuff until hopefully, if you're lucky, your friend wakes up and takes pity on you, or their parents come in and try to figure out what all the fuss is about, and someone turns on the light, and the light brings truth. The light brings information. The light shows you how things really are and where you need to go. Jesus is like a light because Jesus brings truth. Jesus brings information. Jesus shows us how things really are. Jesus shows us the truth about us, and he shows us the truth about God. Jesus shows us the truth about us, that because we've all turned away from God, because we've broken our perfect friendship with him, there is nothing we can do to make ourselves good enough for God. But at the same time, Jesus shows us the truth about God, that he loves us so much that he would do anything, even come here and die, to bring us back to him. Which brings us to point number 2. Jesus is like a light because light brings life. Pretty much everything that's alive in the world today is dependent on light for survival. Plants need light to live. Plant-eating animals need plants which need light to live. Meat-eating animals like myself need plant-eating animals which need plants which need light to live. And so basically, if you get rid of the light, everything dies. Light brings life. In a much bigger and greater way, Jesus brings life. At Easter, we remember why Jesus came. Jesus came because all of us have turned away from God and broken our friendship with him. Jesus came because now that that friendship is broken, there is nothing that we can do to fix it back up again. Jesus came because if he didn't come, there was nothing left for us but to grow up and to grow old and to die and to be separated from God and his love forever. And so, Jesus came to die. Jesus came to live the perfect life that we could never live, and Jesus came to give that life up for us. Jesus came to die in our place, to cover over all of our brokenness. Jesus came to get into trouble instead of us, so that we wouldn't have to. But of course, the story doesn't end there. Jesus came back to life again, and when he did, he proved that death had been defeated once and for all. And so now all that is left for us to do is to believe in what Jesus has done for us and to receive this free gift of life forever with him. But now, of course, at this point, somebody says, come on, you really expect me to believe in this Jesus coming back to life from the dead stuff? I mean, sure, of course those people back then could believe in this stuff because they were ignorant and superstitious. They didn't have science. They didn't have a proper understanding of the universe. So of course those people back then could believe that Jesus could come back to life from the dead because they were biased to think that that sort of stuff could happen. 2,000 years later, we know better. Actually, that's not 100% true. See, of course, Jesus' original followers didn't have the same kind of scientific understanding of the universe that we do, but there were two things that Jesus' followers were absolutely 100% convinced could not happen. Number 1, God could not become a person. That was ridiculous. Number 2, a dead person couldn't just come back to life and start walking around amongst regular people. That was ridiculous too. Jesus' original followers were absolutely convinced of these things. And in fact, in the months leading up to Jesus' death, he repeatedly told his disciples, you know where this is going, right? I'm going to get arrested, I'm going to die, and I'm going to come back to life again. That's the plan. Which his disciples said, no. That is not the plan. That is ridiculous. That can't happen. But then it did. And they believed it. And they believed it even though they had spent their whole lives being absolutely convinced that this stuff could not happen. Which means that whatever evidence Jesus' first followers needed to completely backflip on these two things that they absolutely knew for sure could not happen, they got it. And so somehow Jesus' original followers went from being absolutely convinced that God could not become a person and that a dead person could not come back to life and start walking around amongst regular people, to spending the rest of their lives saying, I know, it's impossible, it can't happen, but it did. My point is, if you are someone who is refusing to even investigate the claims of Jesus' first disciples that he really did come back to life from the dead, then maybe it's not their biases that are the problem. Anyway, Jesus is like a light because Jesus brings truth. He shows us the truth about us and the truth about God. Jesus is like a light because Jesus brings life. Through his death and resurrection, the way has been blown open for us to be friends with God again. And Jesus is like a light because Jesus brings joy. Let's go back to that situation in the dark room, right? You're stumbling around in the dark, you don't know where you are. How are you feeling at that point? Confused, irritated, scared, annoyed, maybe in pain if you've been stubbing your toe on enough things? And so what do? How do you solve the problem of being freaked out in the dark? Well, you find a way to turn on the light. Light is one of our most basic sources of joy, and the message of Easter is that Jesus has come to bring us the most incredible, extravagant, earth-shattering joy imaginable. The tomb is empty. Death is dead, and now there is nothing stopping us from running home to God and embracing this free gift of life forever with him. This Easter at my local shopping centre, these posters have been plastered up everywhere. Easter just got special. Really? Just now? Because they started making chocolate in a new shape? I mean, look, those of you who know me know that I do not have a problem with chocolate, right? But if the most that you get out of Easter this year is a few days off and a mild sugar coma, then can I suggest to you that you are really, really missing out. This Easter, may you enjoy some much needed rest and relaxation. May you fill up on chocolate eggs and hot cross buns until you can hardly stand. But more than that, may you fill up on the truth that the great God of the universe knows you to the depths and yet loves you to the stars. May you fill up on the abundant, extravagant life that Jesus has died to bring you, and may you fill up on the joy of knowing that the tomb is empty, death has been defeated, and the great God of the universe welcomes you home with open arms.